I remember one time I was in at a conference, Rich, and I was trying to explain this to the audience. And I said to all the women in the audience, or first I think I said to the guys, I said, how many of you, if you were single, would date a gal that worked at McDonald's? And the question I got was, well, it depends on what she looks like.
Yeah.
Or it depends on, a lot of these factors. And then I asked the women in the audience that were all kind of middle-aged, making quite a bit of money. I said, how many of you would date a guy that worked at McDonald's? Honestly. Crickets. Crickets.
Par for the course.
It is an example of what you're referring to. So you have a channel and you've been in this space for quite some time. So you've got a lot of boots on the ground intel as to what is happening right now with the psychology of younger men and how it's becoming more difficult for them to date because women are becoming more and more successful. It's not the women's fault, more power to them. But that just means that if hypergamy is real, if women become more successful, there's fewer guys that are acceptable to them. So can you explain that dynamic?
Yeah, there's a bit of delusion going on where women have this they have this understanding that there's this vast swath of very successful 6-foot-tall men out there with 600 horsepower cars. They got 6 inches in the pants and 6-pack abs. They call these the 6-6s, right. And they think that they're out there hiding somewhere, from them. And there's tens of thousands of them, but there isn't, because these guys are pretty rare. I think the vast majority of the guys today are relatively average, and average in the sense where in our grandparents' age, it was very normal for them to get together, form families, have a white picket fence, stay with the same company, get the gold watch, retire, and have all the grandkids. But today, that doesn't seem to be good enough for the modern woman. There's a lot of how can I put it? Their ego has been inflated to some degree because of social media. Like we were talking about this, before we went live, but women and men use social media differently. Like women will hold the camera to themselves and use it as a selfie, and men generally will landscape it and take pictures of things like, the Grand Canyon or a car or a motorcycle or something like that. They're outwardly looking at things, whereas women use it to get validation and approval. So the more likes they get, the better they feel. The more skin they show, the more likes they'll get, the better they'll feel. And it leaves them with the impression that there's lots of guys out there that are interested in them. But the truth of the matter is there's lots of guys out there that are certainly interested in them, but they're not always interested in those guys back. So because they get so much response from guys when they're posting on social media, more specifically places like Instagram where it's photography, they're left with the impression there's loads and loads of guys out there. But when they start to click and look at all the comments and the likes, they realize that they're not the kind of guys that they're into. So there's this big divide. You were talking about St. Bart's before we went live. Do you want to tell them about what you saw over there with the younger gals?
Yeah,
it kind of segues into that.
I think I mentioned this on a video, or I talked about it on Twitter, where I was in St. Bart's and we were out there, and St. Bart's is basically Monaco in the Caribbean. It's all hedge fund guys, it's all or entrepreneurs, that have retired, and you've got just a ton of people there that are their net worth is over $100 million. A lot of billionaires as well, but it's a very small island. Only population of maybe a few thousand, and you can drive from one side of the island to the other in about 10 or 15 minutes, and not too many people know about it. So anyway, we were out at a restaurant or one of the night establishments there, and I met a group of gals there. I didn't go up to them. They just happened to be at the bar where I was getting a drink, and I was like, how did you guys even find out about St. Bart's? All these kind of gals are rather attractive, probably 22, 23 years old, and they said, oh, it's all about Instagram. I said, Instagram, you found it there? Like, yeah, a lot of the guys that we go back and forth with in our DMs come to St. Bart's. So we're all coming down here and staying at Eden Rock, which is a place that's, $1,000 a night. Mm-hmm. I'm like, really? Okay. So that's how it works. And what I was thinking about is back in our day, prior to the internet, prior to social media, prior to even cell phones, the only, guys that these women would have access to in their dating pool would be the guys that lived within a 5-mile radius.
Yeah.
So those guys would have a shot. If you're an Uber driver working at McDonald's, as long as your ambition and you're a young guy, you would have a shot with one of these girls. But now, in today's day and age, that same guy that's driving Uber at 25 years old, is just trying to make his way, is competing with the 35-year-old guy in St. Bart's that just sold his business for $300 million and is driving around on a 150-foot yacht. And it's just, unfortunately, that's where you have that big divide. Guys complain that women's standards are just way, way too high. And then women complain that there are no good guys out there.
Guys are not meeting their standards. Like, where do I find all these guys with the standards that I've set?
And I think that divide is going to get worse.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great observation. Because because when I was a kid, it was girls from school, it was girls where I worked. Like my part-time jobs or even a summer full-time job. You would try to hit on them and make it turn into a date, ask them out, sort of stuff. But you didn't have the wide reach that everybody has today if they're influential with social media and dating apps. And I mean, Instagram, a lot of people have said this many times before, is probably the world's biggest dating app. Yeah. It's more popular and used by more women than any other dating app. And the women on Instagram are generally more attractive than what you get on dating apps anyway. But you're absolutely right. Like there's this large contingent of guys out there that want to be with attractive women. Because that's what guys like. We're not generally interested in their degrees or their accomplishments. And at the end of the day, those women don't want really much to do with a guy that hasn't accomplished much with their life. A rich man will change a broke woman's life, but a rich woman won't look a broke man's way. That's just the reality of the world that we live in today. So, it is what it is. So that's why you have that great divide. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these young, hot 20-something-year-old girls in St. Bart's. They're not paying $1,000 a night for the hotel. It's their sponsor, their friend in quotations, that's taking care of the tab. But they get their travel, they get their Instagram photo shoot. They probably have an OnlyFans, that they've monetized, and these lower caliber guys are paying for a lot of that too at $9.99 a month. I really hope you guys enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full length podcast, you can find that over here, that clip's from. If you're newer to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe over here and pin down below in the top comment. You'll find a bunch of useful links to my website, my supplement line, books, and a bunch of other stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace out.